All right. We are 1 a.m. Eastern, 9 a.m. Moscow, 3 p.m. Tokyo, and 10 p.m. on the Pacific Coast. Good evening, North America, Gotham Metropolis, and Emerald City, Xanadu, the rest of you. A very interesting day of headlines for the end of Friday, 3-4, into Saturday, 3-5, depending upon where on the globe you are. As we were saying goodnight to each other last night, the situation at the nuclear power plant was all the buzz, and how quickly and where that timeline and story went. And yet it's a Friday. It's a take out the trash news weekend. The White House has to get their headlines out. By the way, every other country has to do the same thing. They have to disclose. I mean, if we're to believe Agenda 2020 and we're to believe Agenda 2030, Agenda 21 and Agenda 2030, if we're to believe these things are true and not conspiracy theories, but if there's any facts out of that, when it comes to things like Davos and the Bilderberg and the G20 and the Council on Foreign Relations, it's in their writings. And we're getting ready now for the season of the oligarchs of the West and the East and the North and the South to come together to tables to discuss how they can shape and mold, societies of future. How can they manage the crises? Isn't that interesting? Managing it, not end it. That should be a big signal. But all I'm going to share with you are the data points of what was in the what some are calling Kremlin speak regarding the Russian propaganda versus Vladimir Putin and the Kremlin pointing out the Western propaganda and the discovery of people on the Russian border and the various what used to be Iron Curtain countries realizing that all of our blood is red and that these are not the images and the people we thought we were told to think they are. And the big red flag should be that Vladimir Putin and Russia has now shut off Twitter and Facebook. What was so interesting is all the data that was coming off the ground out of the Ukraine and the various regions that Moscow controls. And again, whether you want to talk about Leningrad, St. Petersburg, or Moscow, of what is controlling the beast, we will argue the Kremlin and Moscow. When you censor one, you can censor all. The government, Putin, a madman, silencing a people and their ability to communicate a message that is outside the narrative to their neighbor next door or a stranger across the world. This should scare the hell out of all of you, especially with the continued chatter of calls for a no-fly zone. Although some experts say that this would only draw more nations into the conflict. Some, these narrators and repeaters, and I'm going to now out Ian Pennell at ABC News. I challenge you. What? Oh, Mr. Marbles? He's harmless. I challenge you. When President Zelensky held an impromptu press conference on 3-3 in an allegedly, and I'm not saying it was or not, in an underground bunker, undisclosed facility, ABC News journalist and reporter Ian Pennell, you don't get the B-roll. Watch the interaction in the ABC clip because he's literally trying to be combative with President Zelensky when asked, how long are you going to stay and fight? And then the arrogance of, do you plan to leave? Who are ABC News reporters working for? Ask the questions at the press conference and get it over. Badgering, and watch the body language, even though it's in the B-roll and you can't hear it, in the way he is, in Zelensky's body behavior and the direct, and the other caravan that go, what the hell are you doing? I dare Ian Pennell, no matter what color vest you want to wear, do that in an interview with Vladimir Putin. Or you want to see real combat, Ian, since you're reporting about events off Twitter and growing concern, people are saying, what, 4 people on your feed? You need a friend? Donald Trump is back on Twitter, and he promised everybody who likes him and retweets him is he's going to add them as their friend. I wish I made that up. It is in the headlines. Donald Trump is back on Twitter. Federal court and Texas, I believe it was Texas court, there were a couple of rulings that came down. Ooh, take out the trash news weekend. However, is this not interesting? In the wake of the State of the Union speech, in a week, how many followers will Donald Trump have, and how many followers will Joe Biden have? I asked that question on 3/4/2022. We'll get an answer next week. Now, let's go right through these headlines. Moscow continuing its claims of the Western propaganda, and that they are not targeting civilians. In fact, when asked about the comment of, is Vladimir Putin a madman, one of the senior, there's only 2 other guys that have their finger, they call it the black box in the UK, the red button, whatever thing you want, the nuclear football, it turns the, there's 2 other guys that are part of their, that ain't gonna happen. And his comment was, when asked about, well, Putin, as the interviewer guy's trying to get him, guy, these are FSB, KGB guys. You know, they don't have a sense of humor. Russia is following military doctrine. And again, when asked about the black box, if they would use the black box as a first strike, he goes, we are not madmen. We follow Russian doctrine. Bingo. The first kernel of truth to come out of an ABC interview. And they completely blew over it. The black box, as they call it on ABC News for 3233, is the button. It's not okay. If the Russians got a button and we still got to lug around a briefcase, there's a bigger problem. Washington, D.C. now continued calls for the January 6th Donald Trump conspiracy, as Bill Barr, former Attorney General, now back in the news, with his new book, which, depending upon which side of the aisle you're on, may be considered Western propaganda. The Russian State Duma has in fact approved a bill, and now announced, in fact, they are doing it, that criminalizes any Russian for providing false information about the Russian army. It is now a penalty of up to 15 years in prison. I mean a gulag. I mean a camp. A rest home. Siberia is full of greenhouses. Maybe they'll be farmers. More notes. As of earlier this morning, Eastern Time, The mayor of, now depending upon, do you say Kherson or Kherson? I've been saying Kherson the whole time, depending upon your dialect, and not to be a racist, but Kherson, Kherson, the mayor of the city had declared, excuse me, that's about right. Hold on, I got to do math in my head. Coming out at 5:50, which I didn't, came top of the hour. 9, 5:50, 9 and 6 is 15, and bumper, and that'd be about right for, yep. That's why the screw, okay, I got it. Notes for beverages. We're gonna need a shot glass, and a cocktail mixer, and a waitress. So you round up all that, and then you let me know. Stop looking creepy on camera. Maybe I can give you to a good. Forget about adopting a war orphan. Anyway, the children. Talk about using a prop. The media and the children and the families. And we need to deliver children to their surrogate mothers, need to find their Ukrainian long lost. I mean, the Ukrainian surrogate mother, and the kid is already here, and come on. No discussion of Epstein anywhere. No discussion of Dr. Fauci either, but the two of them have nothing to do with each other as far as we know. President Zelensky at the press conference also stated now on the internet to the World Wide Web that those are allowed to see it. He needs to talk to Putin. Zelensky, Putin, we need to talk. He went on to say the world needs to talk to you, Putin. Zelensky is not going to leave. The United Nations is now reporting confirmed no less than 1 million refugees have exited Ukraine into Poland, Hungary, and other nations. Talks in the United States of suspending the immigration statuses regarding of influx. States including Colorado and Governor Polis already announcing that he will happily accept refugees because he's going to need to replace the votes he's losing. I'm sorry, that was not appropriate. I mean, he is going to run for president of the United States, so, he better keep being governor, but failing as governor only propels you quicker to the office of president of the United States now. When pressed by ABC News' Ian Pennell of how long do they expect to be able to keep up the fight, we're not going anywhere. We're going to fight, and we're going to fight, and we're going to win. And do you plan on leaving? No. Stop asking. He did not say that, but you can see it in his face. And again, do that again. Go try and get the interview with Saddam Hussein. Where is the journalism there? Remember the last war? Who was going to get the infamous first interview with Saddam? Anybody going to get the Putin interview? No. Compliments of all of the Rockefeller foundations that fund PBS and Frontline. Frontline the other night had an in-depth expose on Vladimir Putin, stemming back to, I don't have the notes on it. I was going to take them and I didn't because I got mad. Because you want to bring up this thing of ours and La Cosa Nostra and the Mafia and the KGB, and you want to bring up the Cold War and you want to bring up East Berlin, and you're missing something there. Frontline, that was a worthless piece of garbage that you put out. And again, this wasn't some negotiated contract to get some cameras and squad cars, and you can do that in 4 or 5 days. Oh, no, 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 no. Frontline PBS, Frontline on PBS. You may want to take a look at how long those pieces get put together, which makes it suspicious, as much so as the footage coming out allegedly of the missile attack on the Ukraine. The largest nuclear power plant in all of Ukraine was subject to a missile attack. That didn't necessarily turn out to be true now, did it? The reactor fears that a possible Chernobyl event could happen. Yes, and fears that monkeys could fly out of his butt. Ain't gonna happen. God, I hope I'm right. Because of the nuclear event, or possible nuclear event, depending upon how you want to describe it, the talk of a 30-mile radius for a safe zone for the rescue and the firefighters and the humanitarian efforts. And then they went this far. They're going to get their no-fly zone. The media will not stop pushing a no-fly zone until every last Ukrainian kid is dead. They're going to keep dragging them out of the rubble, and calls for more. Somebody, for the love of God, do so. We can't do a no-fly zone. We need a no-fly zone. We can't do a no-fly zone. Why? Because we would drag. We need to be safe. We need a no-fly zone. Now, you want to talk about how you get the camel toe under the tent? Here it comes. Talks of a humanitarian corridor or corridors to allow the mass exodus of refugees that are continuing because Vladimir Putin is destroying everything in its sight. The convoy still hasn't moved. Told you, this is a big kid's game of Risk. Newest available satellite and aerial footage. It is not mechanically disabled. It's sitting there. Uh-huh. Tanks. Huh? But if we have to, yeah, then we gotta move. Okay. We don't know yet. Mm-hmm. Because the people didn't lay down the way the Russian propagandists thought it would, because they've been propping it up so much they believe their own lies. And the Ukrainians, regardless of what their government said, because it's not that old really, neither is Russia's. You forget the czars, and then you forget a very select few under the CCCP. And Boris Yeltsin, and it just popped in, Lech Walesa, and Glasnost, and Ronald Reagan, and the guy with the tattoo on, that's not a tattoo, it was a birthmark, and it was Gorbachev. You forget history, and you repeat it. And, during economic recessions and depressions, only two things make money. Cold War fell. Sorry, the Cold War ended when the Berlin Wall fell, and Mother Russia and the various satellites fell into the hands of the mob. And make sure you think I'm making that up too, because I probably am. Hey, that same computer, and then you get over here, and then it's the girl on the thing, and you might want to check where most of them came from, and why certain members of certain families in Eastern Europe after the wall fell became what they became, and especially in the world of tech, high tech, and then international universal import and export of, call them what you will. The humanitarian corridors need to be set up, and a ceasefire zone. See, if we can get the corridors and the zones, then we can get a big blanket of no-fly. Oh, this is how I think the camel toe is going to get under the tent. Vladimir Putin from Moscow stands firm in one of his latest addresses, because he's had two today. He took a moment of silence in the morning for the fallen soldiers that the Kremlin had denounced, 498 soldiers, and then said that Ukraine is being deceived by Ukrainian propaganda. That wasn't a Joe Biden. Ukraine was deceiving its own with its own propaganda. Further calls out of Moscow again of Western propaganda, and the Ukraine's suffering even at the hands of Ukrainian propaganda. Only two more pages, bear with me. Microsoft is taking credit for allegedly stopping a major cyber attack that was allegedly carried out under the Kremlin, the Putin, the army. They're not saying. Microsoft is taking credit for it. The State Department and the U.S. government and cybersecurity applauding them from working together in the community. What community are you talking about? But in that press conference over at the Pentagon briefings are getting. Thank God the weekend is here. Man, it was a tough week at the. I tell you, it was tough. It was a tough week at the Pentagon. Um, but from the guy at the Pentagon. Yep, Russia has one of the most advanced cyber capabilities on the globe. We're never going to know about China because we just call them. Russia has one of the most advanced cyber capabilities on the globe. Good night, flat earthers. He was reading this off. Who wrote this? What sixth grade delinquent is in charge of speech writing for the Pentagon, the State Department, Homeland Security, and the White House? Again, he didn't. I'm writing this wrong. No. Remember, it was 80 million on either side. So go screenshot. I didn't even think to do it until I said it. How many followers does he have? How many does he have? Place your bets. Well, with all the cyber attacks, I guess the cyber attacks are going to be coming from all these trolls. Um, John Brennan at the State Department. Vladimir Putin's days are numbered. He said this on MSNBC. Maybe even in the double digits, suggesting 10 days or less, or 99 bottles of beer on the wall. 99 bottles of beer, you take one down, Putin around. You know, there's a little bit of Putin in all of you. You're being aggressive. Can't have that. Vladimir Putin says that he is battling neo-Nazis. And the Ukraine, regarding the allegations that he's targeting civilians, he says the neo-Nazis are using civilians as human shields. Now, the human shields comments I think are funny, especially since Sean Penn is in the news, and other than the last time in Crisis and in War, when he wasn't a documentarian, wasn't he a human shield? I don't know. I don't remember. I drank a lot, I played with dolls, and I smoked too much. I'm sorry. I think he was not a human shield, but they were using themselves. Human shield, good or bad? Wait a minute. Last war, human shield, good. This war, human shield, bad. Sorry. Moldova now has announced that it will be ready and prepared to defend itself if Putin and the Russian army have any intentions of invading Moldova. And I laughed when I said, it's the weekend, 2 days off and no Pentagon briefings. Do you really think if this is going to continue, we can go 7 days without Moldova now being in the briefings? You may want to know where they're located in proximity to Ukraine. You know, little pesky things in the news right now like Odessa, the Black Sea. By the way, I didn't realize a couple of you were actually going to go. Tonight's homework, Viva Knievel. The Evil Knievel movie. Not the George Hamilton version. But you can watch them both. Um, in 7 days. All right, wait a minute. I didn't tell them why I told them to do that. The first obvious one is the hunt for Red October. And where are they pulling out up north and then going down to Red Route 1 to wait for? They're subtle, but what do you mean that? Yeah, this isn't a concept. No, that thing. They put that thing in the water this morning. Holy sh! I better get up. But yeah, I know you don't like to fly. Controlling Odessa, controlling central Ukraine, all the way through the river, and again because of the deal with Belarus. Well, what's Russia's other little pull? There you go. There's your new line. That starts to explain. That starts to explain why the convoy's sitting there. Talking about NATO, where are the tanks? Where are the missiles? Where are the soldiers? Where are the submarines? Where are the air bases? Yep. It's not checkmate, it's stalemate. And that's where peace is because of mutual assurance. You do this and we're going to do. You don't want to do that. No, we don't want to do that. All right. We're going to go back over here now. But they need this war. They need to control you. They need you afraid. A nuclear Chernobyl meltdown 6 times worse. Well, because there's 6 power plants that provide 49% of the power to Ukraine. But the children and the mothers, and they're scared because they might die. We are all right, not you. We are all gonna die. You better find that waitress for us before I die. All right? Go back to work. See, because then they can write all of this off that I was losing my mind and talking to dolls. The question being asked, and I really am scared Sunday because they packed it all in today. No, they're going to probably put everything in the can tomorrow by 3 o'clock. I don't think anybody's technically being live on Sunday for the Sunday morning talk shows. No. If this is going to be canned and packaged, and it's got to somehow have a bow on it that people want to buy. What was being touted as the most intense sanctions and negotiations the world may have ever seen, when asked, what will end this? The most intense sanctions and negotiations the world may have ever seen will end this. Wrong. Big letters, wrong. Reports began earlier this morning. Here it comes. Kiev, because we don't want to be racist. Kiev is in danger of falling. Last week it failed, then it was falling, then it was about to fall, now it's in danger of falling. Somebody get Kyiv a clapper. I've fallen and I can't. No, that's not the clapper. What is that? What is I've fallen and I can't get up? What the? That wasn't the clapper. Never mind. He can't remember TV commercials anymore. He's talking to dolls, and everybody knows it's the I've fallen and I can't get up. That's right. First alert. Right? First alert's the smoke detectors. And this is going to bother me. Back to Microsoft. The allegations of possible cyber attacks and them being able to thwart one, but stand by, we're about to have a bunch of them. With reports coming in that Kiev is now in danger of falling, the U.S. announced that cybersecurity was on standby. And I didn't realize we were in the Navy, battening down the hatches regarding cyber attacks. The Western media reporting that Cyber Command and cybersecurity and people at Microsoft, do we have a janitor? Who are these sources? You need to immediately all reset your devices and change your passwords. Why? So your TikTok app can send it back to China? Hey, remember when TikTok first came out and there was that conspiracy about they may be doing something? No, they're not. And you're a xenophobe. Hey, the TikTok thing, huh? Change your passwords, reset your devices, stay vigilant. Keep it right here. And the media now is showing, hey, get your phone, take a picture of our QR code and download the app so we can scare you 24 hours a day. They're not telling you much on the news anymore, are they? They give you a headline, something emotional. Here's the GoFundMe app that can all be found at our website. What kind of information is that? And the businesses, who's propping up these news sources and these news agencies and these repeaters? Western media continuing to say that people of Ukraine and around the world are asking for more. More, can I have more, please? More. What more can we do? What more can we give? Let's have a fundraiser. Let's have a bake sale, and the money and the proceeds will go to preventing the sex trafficking of now over 500,000 kids. If it's 2 to 1 versus 2 to 3 to 1, but we're looking at 300,000 to 500,000 kids with 500,000 women. I got more bad news. Hillary's gonna run. The announcement came earlier today. Take out the trash news Friday. I think I wrote it. I tweeted about it. Their foundation. What was not the Clinton Foundation? The other mechanism went back. No sooner did Donald Trump appear on Twitter, back on the internet, Hillary Clinton's mechanism popped back up on the Bill Clinton announced it. I had nothing to do here on a Friday, and I saw the war, and what a distraction. I used mine with. I want to just let every American know that I did not have sex with that woman. It depends upon what you mean the definition of is, and I am married to Hillary Clinton. Can I use that as a defense? Continued discussion of safe spaces and a no-fly zone. You again get the camel toe under the tent. We can't. They just won't give us. Well, then we need a safe space, and we're gonna need a corridor, and we're gonna need some railings, and we're gonna need T-shirts and logos and coffee mugs and mouse pads. Who the hell uses a mouse pad anymore? Continued calls by the West. We want action. Yeah, because you have the attention span of a flea because of your scrolling. Most people now with their smartphone, they're scrolling the distance of the Empire State Building every day. And they're never getting off the damn couch or leaving the office. Another piece of take out the trash news. A 3-ton piece of space junk has impacted the far side of the moon. Used to be the dark side. Dark side's different. It's the far side. Okay. You mean the side we can't see? That side. Well, I mean, some people can. We're not allowed. I know. The West won't say whose it is. It's 3 tons. The impact. Oh, the dust and the crater and the impact for miles, and it's going to take time because of. China says it's not theirs. Oh, well, then, if China said so, that's good for me. And an egg roll, and some hot and sour soup, and 3 crab and cheese wontons. Sounds good to me. And after, again, take out the trash news Friday. We've got some good ones here. I'm going to need more soda. In the last 30 days, we saw a piece of very interesting footage off the USS carrier Vincennes. Carl Vincennes. I didn't mean to be disrespectful to our boys in the Navy and the Marine Corps pilots on board. Semper Fi. It was interesting in the way that the media got a hold of it. It was an F-35 Raptor on carrier landing, and leave it at what it is, because we don't know. Carrier, plane, we know how it's supposed to work. Didn't work that way. The plane impacting, not landing correctly on the deck, skidding across the deck, and then falling into the South China Sea. Now, the F-35 Raptor, you spent a lot of money on. It has, as with every fighter jet platform, they cost a lot of money to figure out. And the F-35 had it's a great plane. Pilots love her, some pilots hate her. Some pilots love the Warthog, some love the Phantom. Some call the Warthog the pig, and I don't think anybody dare call a Phantom a pig. The F-4. But the F-35 is now sitting at the bottom of the South China Sea. And in the Navy, where did that video come from? Somebody leaked it. And understanding the size and the magnitude of not only the carrier, how many on board, but who had access to it, and what's the motivation. Especially, and this was before the Olympics, before the invasion, after Christmas, first of the year, and okay, the anniversary of the boogeyman going away. It's back on Twitter. Where'd that video come from? And whoever was retarded enough, I bring up Howard Hughes and the Glomar Explorer. Whoever in the West, in the media, in academia, in the international foreign affairs professor of college at whatever institute, if you in your right mind thought that that thing was going to be left unattended, let alone at the bottom of the ocean or bottom of the South China Sea, you are absolutely insane. You throw your tennis shoes out when they get dirty, or you try and repolish them instead of attending to them and keeping them clean. The carrier and plane have been reunited. Recovered from 12,400 feet below. The plane that was back on her deck and being taken now for continued investigation and what happened and yada yada, the events leading up to the mishap. On where'd that video come from? What else got out with that video that we haven't seen yet? These allegations of military spies now here in the United States reselling U.S. secrets, where'd that video come from? Who gave it to who? What's the chain of custody regarding that piece of video? I find it highly suspicious, to say the least. Glomar Explorer, Howard Hughes, and I forget the name of, but the Russians come up specifically because of this. It's the Cold War back then. We're going to go steal the Russian sub at the bottom because the Soviets can't. We found it. And how do we call Howard Hughes? Glomar Explorer, but the then declassified footage when they managed to bring up portions of the sub, no spoiler alert. Holy, we got dead Russian sailors. Okay, we're going to give them official burial at sea, and we're going to videotape it. Why? Like Eisenhower getting into the concentration camps. When the Cold War, if the Cold War ever ends, and they find out I did this, they will kill me unless we can prove, no, we found your comrades. Regardless of political ideology, we gave them a burial at sea in your ceremony. We all the way down to the Russian national anthem. And we, because of secrecy, we couldn't tell you, but we did lay your dead to rest. Osama bin Laden, we just sort of that's what the family would have wanted. It was in keeping with, that tradition. The F-35 South China Sea, the USS carrier Carl Vincennes. Claims in the West already that Vladimir Putin has in fact selected a group of individuals who will be inserted into Ukraine as the new puppet government. Does he have any oligarchs left to select from if the West is correct in these economic sanctions are really impacting everyone in the Soviet Union, not the oligarchs? The kids of the oligarchs, however, are upset. They're on other social media platforms asking for their parents not to go to war. We don't want war. We love it. We want our gadgets back. In the West, as we now come out of the end of 3.4 and the beginning of 3.5, the stunning drone footage of Irpin, IRPIN, allegedly showing street after street, village after village, crushed and crumbled. Well, that drone footage has been running now for 4 days, and in the original you ran 3 seconds and then 10 seconds, and now you're running 20, and you've got a narrative, but it's the same drone footage of 4 days ago, now 5 days ago. More and more focus on these children, and you need to pay attention where all these refugees, not for political voting reasons, but for the obvious reasons of how sinister the world has become, and the exploitation of children, women, and the vulnerable. And that's the entire group of refugees with no one there to defend them. Sending money to the American Red Cross and Catholic Charities, you might as well go throw your money in the wind. That goes for administrative and everything else. Pennies on your dollar would ever help the victims. The best thing you can do right now is not to give money. I know, that's it, we're going to take you off the internet. Because we don't know where that money is directly going. All of this cry and GoFundMe and go do this, and let's see how this plays out. Where is our money best allocated? You're able to make that decision. You don't need the United Way making it for you. You don't need another nonprofit and an NGO. You could significantly change the world by smiling tomorrow at people, opening the door for somebody, being polite to somebody who's a jerkweed in the store. That's how you can make a difference. Being and feeling good because you clicked and donated and put on your ribbon and changed your profile picture. We should get you a social media account. You would be a hit with the girls. And you could use that social media account to find a waitress. Economists are now worried in the U.S. that Ukraine and the problems in the Ukraine. Western economists talking about the problems in the Ukraine. Could stall job growth in the United States. Oh, you mean we could see on a massive unemployment because the military-industrial complex here in the United States doesn't exist. So we can't retool, for war effort because we're still making masks. Got it. The farmers of America, as we exit, it depends upon, I guess, where. The Rocky Mountains versus the Midwest and calving season. All right? The beginning or the end, or starting the beginning to the end, depending upon, again, Denver to Omaha. Get it in right. Denver, Omaha, St. Louis, Minneapolis. The farmers of America now getting some legislation time in Congress is being devastated by the inflation costs regarding, I don't know, their tractors and their fuel and the cost of their seed and the water and the electricity. Where, regardless of the supply chain crisis, many American farmers, the mom and pop, the small business, the farmers, are not going to be able to make their first nut payment to get planted. Well, we're going to find out real quick how that's going to work here in Adams County, wow, was that a Freudian slip. Weld County. The onion farms on Highway 85. And I know there's sugar beets and other things, but the smell coming, I don't mean the smell, the aroma. You can smell the early spring onions. 85 coming out of Platteville down to the Fort Lupton area. Over 100, again, the media reporting several thousand people protesting in Prague. That's 100,000 people if there's one. Massive protests expected throughout the weekend around the world, from Denver, Colorado to London, England, Prague. Now, here's the problem with social media. Are they going to continue to protest in St. Petersburg and in Moscow and in Leningrad and elsewhere? And how would we know? And could, because of the failure of the Russian secret police, the FSB, and the riot police of the various cities, because they got egg on their face in the West, now that the camera's off, what's to prevent a Tiananmen Square on a level that we couldn't fathom? Donald Trump, again, censoring. Okay, we're gonna get rid of Facebook. Let's just get rid of it because it has not brought us closer together. It's made us further apart. It separates us. It lets them track us. It ruins a lot of things. It has not made the world a better place. But saying you can be here and you can't, and because a very select few do and can affect the world, that is by definition censorship. Whether you support it or are against it, it doesn't matter. Censorship of one allows for the censorship of all. Well, it can't be all. Yeah, because you keep wanting to be on the winning side. So you have the whole, divide it again, divide it again, and divide it again. You'll enjoy Michael Crichton's The Andromeda Strain. Put that in a nuclear reactor. See, oh my goodness, don't do that. Hopefully, the weekend and worldwide attention on social media of what is allegedly fake news, mostly false, regarding the number of barrels of oil the United States acquires from Russia every day, mostly false. Fact checker said so. All right. Well, the fact checker needs to go outside and get some UV. Maybe get a new phone. Maybe get a current model. I don't know if they're still on the brick or maybe the old StarTech. Might want to come up to the new generation. They could be from the Cold War. You never know. Find me on the World Wide Web on social media to the rest of the world except Russia. Scooter McGee on Facebook. The Scooter McGee on Twitter. You can support me with being a Patreon fan. Throw a buck in. So he can tip the waitress. Where is the waitress? Um, are we done? We're good. We're good. I got through all the headlines. We got a long. I'll see all of you tomorrow night, every night, Saturday night, Sunday night, Monday night. Take me with you on the road. Subscribe, like, friend, delete, do what we need to do. I'll see all of you in 24 hours. Well, I'll see you in 23 because it's almost an hour later. Good night, good morning, be well. Um, be vigilant. Be leery of what everybody's saying. And, oh, but it says it right here. Click that link. Hey, that link has a whole lot. I know you're going to have to read for 3 minutes. Hey, this is the exact opposite of what the headline. No. How did they get away with it? I don't know. You should maybe call somebody. But in the meantime, don't go by the headline. I mean, click a link or two. Maybe read a paragraph or two. And maybe withhold your judgment of others for, a moment or two while you actually wait a minute. Why is he? Oh. Oh. Well, they're idiots. I know. But don't believe me. Research yourself. And we'll see you tomorrow night. Or tomorrow morning. Or tomorrow afternoon. Unless I see you sooner. Be well. Godspeed.